So
Definitely.
let's start by breaking down the West region first, where Gonzaga is the #1 overall seed.
Mhm.
And for my money, I think that Gonzaga got the easiest draw out of all of the #1 seeds, which is kind of makes sense. You know, they're the #1 overall seed. So what do
Yeah.
you make of their region overall and their chances to get to a Final Four?
I look at the teams in their region. I mean, Oklahoma will play hard, but I don't see Oklahoma stopping Gonzaga. Missouri as well. Creighton will push Gonzaga. But even then, I just feel like Gonzaga is too deep of a team, and their guards are just better. I feel like their guards are better. They have a lot more weapons at the guard area than Creighton does. So I feel like Creighton would be their best bet to slowing them down, like within those first two games. Then, I mean, you go through the list. If these people on the other side can make it through Iowa, like Eastern Washington, I actually think will be pretty good. But if they can make it through Iowa, who I think will be playing Gonzaga, who Gonzaga's already beaten, I think Gonzaga will be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. So my biggest thing is we've already seen them play Iowa,
Yeah.
right? And they beat Iowa. I think they ended up winning by 11, but it felt like a game that
They were up. They were up the majority of the time they were playing.
Yeah, they were basically in control the entire time. Then you have Kansas as a 3 seed, and we don't know what's going on with Kansas in terms of how many players are going to have eligible. Jeff Goodman keeps reporting that they have a very important player, his words, that is not going to be playing on at least in the first couple of games because he tested positive. We know that David McCormick's been out with contact tracing, and then Virginia, like they're not even going to get to Indy until Friday. You know, they still have to go through all the testing stuff that they have to do to be able to get cleared. Like they're not practicing right now; they're in quarantine. So you put all that stuff together, and I feel like they probably have the easiest draw. Where do you see? What's the most intriguing first round matchup for you out of this region, and where do you see any upsets?
In this region, I actually look forward to watching the Eastern Washington and Kansas game. They have 4 or 5 guys who are very I'll always like balanced scoring, and I feel like they have 4 or 5 guys who can make it difficult for a team, especially they rebound the ball, which I mean not Kansas is usually a job of group rebounding. David McCormick usually isn't a guy that's like leading the team with many rebounds as a season guy. I've seen him with 3 rebounds to finish the game numerous times. And then I look at Tanner Grill, Tanner Grill? Yeah, like they have him, they have Ken Aiken Jr., who rebound the ball really well. And I mean, obviously it's Kansas and it's Eastern Washington, 2 completely different programs. And Kansas plays against a ton of ranked competition throughout the year, but missing a certain amount of players coming into the first round game, a rusty. I don't know if Dave will be rusty. Dave McCormack will be rusty, but not having these games to get him ushered into the tournament won't help Kansas out either. I feel like this is an opportunity for a team to take advantage of a higher seeding.
Yeah, I could see them getting picked off. For me, I think the 2 most interesting first round matchups are probably going to end up being the 4 and the 5 seed games. UC Santa Barbara is loaded, dude. Like they have like their starting point guard is Jagori McLaughlin, who used to be I think he was at Oregon State. He was a top 75 recruit. They got a kid named Miles Norris at the 5 who started out at Oregon. He was a top 100 prospect. Like they are just littered with high major talent. Joe Pasternak, the former Arizona assistant, is their head coach. They're very, very good. And I think that they have the kind of athletes that can match up with Creighton and like deal with the mismatches that Creighton's perimeter players create. So I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup. I also love Ohio against Virginia. I don't know how much you've seen Ohio play this year, but they got a kid named Jason Preston.
Yeah. He has a great story. Great story.
And he's going to play in the NBA one day. Like he's elite. And the fact that they're going up against that team coming out of their pause is going to be very, very interesting to watch. And I'm probably gonna have Santa Barbara and Ohio both advancing out of that region. The one other matchup that I do just want to mention
that wasn't even a surprise for me, though. My bad. I'm sorry. That wasn't even a surprise for me. I kind of thought Ohio, being as far as Preston doing what he does, and Virginia, I wasn't too bought in the guards this year. Like even with Kid Clark, like I just wasn't too bought in. They didn't
Yeah,
play
I
too
mean that's
consistent.
that's the obvious one, right? Like Virginia and Ohio, and then Villanova, Winthrop, but the two obvious ones just because of the circumstances that the higher seeds are going through, and there's not much you can do about that. The other matchup that I'm really interested in is in the second round. Assuming Oregon can get past VCU, I think that Oregon matchup against Iowa is just fascinating because you need to have a big body to be able to slow down Luka Garza, but on the other hand, you know, the way that Oregon wants to play with the 5 wings that are they basically have 5 guys that are all 6'6" that play.
Yeah,
like that's going to be very difficult for Idaho to match up with. And I think that is a place where they can get picked off. I would not be surprised.
I mean, Oregon averages like around 70 points again. I feel like that's going to be a bad matchup for Iowa. Granted, Iowa's been doing better. You've been preaching to us, and Iowa has been doing better defensively.
They have. I got a number for you. I got a stat for you. Ready?
Talk to me.
So my guy Bart Torvik, the guy that runs the Totally T-Bomb, the site with all the metrics there. I think it's called T-Bomb. I think that's what the metric. Whatever it is, it's an efficiency site that you could break it down by dates. And since February 6th, Iowa is the nation's 8th most efficient defense. That's hard for me to say. 8th most efficient defense. There you go. 3rd time's the charm. Which I think says a lot about how good they've been. You know, they've been a top 10 defense over 6 weeks. That's a pretty big sample size. So I am bought in on them on that end, and I do think that they'll get past Oregon. But Oregon is a team that is seeded as a 7 seed, despite being the talent of a 4 seed because of issues and losses that they took when they were coming off of COVID pauses. So I just think that's a rough draw for Iowa in the second round, but I do think that it's one that they can win.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm similar in the sense I feel like Iowa's bought in enough defensively, enough to, you know, do what they need to do normally offensively to beat Oregon. You know?
All right. So coming out of that region, who do you have in your Elite Eight? Who do you have getting to the Final Four? Is there any way that someone like a USC or someone like that can be able to make a run in this bracket, DC?
I have USC getting to in the Sweet 16 and of course to play against Iowa. Like I have that. That's a given. I don't see them passing.
Ooh, Mobley against Luka.
Yeah, no, that's the matchup I kind of looked at. I feel like USC can beat Wichita or Drake at the end of the day. And I kind of think that Eastern Washington will get past Kansas and it'll be USC, Eastern Washington, and you know, USC, Evan Mobley is a little bit too much for whatever they got going on there regardless. And they'll play against Iowa. I got Gonzaga and Iowa, though. Definitely meeting up. Yeah,
I do too. I'm really excited to see that matchup again, just because you know there's going to be points on points on points on points on points in the game. But I don't think before the Elite Eight that Gonzaga plays a game where that gets kept within like 15 points.
No, there's not a team there. There's not a team there.
Yeah, I don't think that. So we both have Gonzaga in the Final Four. Do you have them getting there unscathed?
I got Gonzaga there. I have, I got Gonzaga there definitely. It's not even close.
All right. What's the last thing in the region? Then we'll move on. What is the biggest storyline that you are tracking in that region? I'll go first, I guess. Mine is whether or not Gonzaga can go undefeated. Like I think that's the biggest storyline of this tournament. They're chasing perfection. The last team to do it was in 1976. That was Indiana, who also went 32-0. So that's I think they get it done. And yeah, I think that they'll get to the Final Four unscathed.
Sheesh. It comes down to me, if Creighton can get past their off the court issues. I mean, not many teams get hit with like something like this at the very end of their season. You know, we've seen stuff early in the season, preseason, and during the earlier parts of the season where, you know, teams have to go through some type of adversity. Not many teams get hit with stuff like this toward the end of their season. And it looked like they got past it before the last game, and then they just got housed. So it'd be interesting because I kind of feel like Creighton is the only team that can literally stand in Gonzaga's way before, you know, before they advance to, what is that, the Sweet 16 possibly, or Elite Eight, whichever two. Creighton might be the only team that can match up with them offensively and like just give them a push.